The ruins of the ancient city of Vijayanagar, better known as Hampi, are one of the most popular tourist destinations in South India. The group of monuments at Hampi form a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is spread over an area of more than 4,100 hectares. The Tungabhadra River, which originates from the Western Ghats near Kudremukh and is one of South India's largest rivers, flows through Hampi and separates the districts of Baleri and Gangavati. Hampi continues to be an important religious site, housing the Virupaksha temple, which is the main centre of pilgrimage at Hampi. The temple was built in the 7th century, well before the Vijayanagara, the capital, was located here. This temple is the only well-preserved and maintained temple in Hampi until the present day. The numerous other temples in Hampi were destroyed and ruined by the Bahmani sultanates in 1565. Hampi is located in hilly terrain formed by granite boulders. These boulders create natural caves that give shelter to spiritual people who have left mainstream society and live the life of hermits. 7 years ago, in 2016, I published a movie I'd made about the birds of Hampi. In that film, I described all the birding sites, showed all the birds, and gave background information on Hampi from the geographical, archaeological, and spiritual points of view. I decided to make this new movie as an addition, not because there has been much change in the bird life of the area, but because there is a great change in the logistics of the sites in Hampi and in Daroji Bear Sanctuary, and in addition, there is a new otter sanctuary in the area. The 150-kilometre road from Hubli to Hospet is now a 4-lane fast highway, and it makes the journey from Goa much more pleasant and an hour shorter. The biggest change in the area is the destruction of all the hotels, resorts and guest houses in Virapapuragade. This area, located on an island in the Tungabhadra River, just across from the Virupaksha temple, had many resorts that could accommodate hundreds of people and was the main accommodation and entertainment area of Hampi. This settlement was illegal, and after fighting in court for over 20 years, a demolition order came out, and in 2020, just when COVID-19 started, the area was evacuated and destroyed. However, new resorts are being built a little further away near Sanapur and Hanumanhali. Crossing the river near the aqueduct to Virapapuragade, there is a welcoming sign that declares the area as a reserve forest. The woodland that grows on the rocky hills around Hampi is dry, deciduous forest. It is mostly natural, but there are patches with some plantations made by the forest department. These forests are well protected, and the trees have grown significantly over the years. I have seen a great improvement in the forest cover since I produced my first movie about Hampi 7 years ago. The blue-faced malkoa is a resident bird in these hills, and I find it to be much more common now. These hills are the best place in India for this bird in my experience. Yellow-throated bulbul is the most important bird of Hampi, and it is easier to find it here than anywhere else in India. This species of bulbul only lives in forested, rocky hills in South India. It is easier to locate it between the boulders near the villages than in the denser forest in the hills. I cannot detect any change in its population in the last 10 years. The second most important bird in Hampi is the painted spurfowl. This is a resident, widespread bird in India, but difficult to see. Hampi is the best place for this species, and I find it much easier to see now than previously. However, it is still easier to see in Daroji Bear Sanctuary than in Hampi. Daroji Bear Sanctuary is located 15 kilometers south of Hampi. It is probably the best place in the world to watch sloth bears. While previously it was possible to visit this sanctuary independently with your own vehicle, that is now only permitted with a safari vehicle from the Forest Department. The tour starts at 1:30 p.m. from the compound of the Forest Department Interpretation Centre, which is on the main road from Hampi to Baleri, and costs 2,000 rupees. The price is per vehicle and allows up to 10 people in each. The vehicle route goes through 28 kilometers inside the sanctuary. We were lucky to see a star tortoise and a chameleon on our trip in early September. These animals are easier to see in the rainy season. This part of the sanctuary was opened to the public only recently, and the landscape here is flatter and less wooded. Later, the vehicle enters the main part of the sanctuary, where there is a watchtower, from where there is a good view over the surroundings. The Forest Department puts jaggery on rocks about 200 meters away from the watchtower, and this attracts the bears who come to feed on it. The Forest Department has now created special facilities for photographers. For an additional fee of 500 or 1,000 rupees, depending on the size of the lens, they will drive you a few hundred meters from the parking area of the watchtower to an open place at the foot of a rocky hill where there is a large two-floored cage, like the type of cage they used to keep lions in the circus in days gone by. Up to 10 photographers can be fitted into this cage, 5 on each floor. This gives the opportunity to view the animals at very close range. On my last visit, I saw 6 adult bears and another mother with grown-up cubs. The animals seem to be comfortable with people around and are not bothered by the click of the camera.
Daroji and Hampi area is one of the best places in India to see the painted sandals.
Pompaya Malimat is a local bird guide, nature lover and photographer who was born and lives in Kamlapur, the main village around Hampi. He has been involved with Daroji Bear Sanctuary since it was established and is involved with local community conservation and education programs. In 2012, he established Malimat's Eco Farm on the bank of an irrigation canal with clear views over the hills and forests. He is very proud of his afforestation work, which has now become a small forest. The homestay has 2 rooms that can accommodate 4 people each. He serves local homemade food cooked by his wife. At the back of the house there is a pond where tricolour munia breeds in the monsoon. Inside the compound of the Forest Department, Malimat established and maintains a hide for bird photographers. This is a perfect place to obtain photos of birds which may be easy to see but are very difficult to photograph. Although not many people visit the place, Malimat takes care that rice and fruits will be distributed to the birds at his own cost. Many irrigation canals around Hampi were built in the 1950s. These are open water canals, and to maintain the water level, in many places the constructors had to cut through rocks, creating canyons. Some of these are deep and long. With time, trees started to grow from the rocks, and now some of these trees are reaching 70 years of age. There is very little human disturbance in these canyons, and a unique ecosystem has developed in them. They're a favorite place for Indian eagle owl. Almost every canyon has a resident bird. They can be seen in the daytime sitting on a rock or a tree in the canyon. Pairs find it safe to build their nests on the sheer cliffs. In 2019, a new bridge was constructed over the Tungabhadra River, 6 kilometers east of Hampi. It connects Bukasagara with Kadebagiliu near Anegundi. The river near the bridge is very wide, and it has now been declared an otter sanctuary. Many river birds and crocodiles can be seen on rocks in the river, and great thick-knee nests on small islands. A population of smooth-coated otters lives in this part of the river. This species of otter occurs across most of the Indian peninsula, but it has been listed as vulnerable on the IUCN list since 1996, and it is threatened by habitat loss, pollution of wetlands, and poaching. As its name indicates, its fur is smooth and shorter than that of other otter species. Anjaneya Hill, the birthplace of the monkey god Hanuman, on the north side of the Tungabhadra River, near Anegundi, is now a very popular pilgrim and tourist destination. At nearly any given time, hundreds of people climb the stairs to visit the temple on the top of the hill. Sahapur Lake is easily reached from a side road near Chikrampur, on the road from Anegundi to Hanumanhalli. The road goes through rice fields. This area enjoys 2 seasons of rice cultivation in a year, thanks to the water from the lake. Sahapur Lake is a man-made water body, and its water comes from the Tungabhadra Canal that is connected to the Tungabhadra Reservoir about 20 kilometers upstream near Hospet. The rocky hills behind Sahapur Lake are wild and covered with good forest. This area is a reserved forest and may become a wildlife sanctuary in future, as it has a population of sloth bears and leopards.